The millions of Americans who belong to one or more of this nation's 574 federally recognized tribes know all too well that their past is pocked with pain. Earlier this year, President Joe Biden called the treatment of thousands of Native children at government boarding schools a blot on the nation's history. On Monday, he signed a proclamation to establish a monument at the site of the Carlisle Indian Industrial School in Pennsylvania, whose founder's mission was to kill the Indian, save the man.
Then the federal government mandated the removal of children from their families and tribes, launching what's called the Federal Indian Boarding School era. Over a 150-year span, 150 years, from the early 1800s to 1970, one of the most horrific chapters in American history. We should be ashamed.
Today, the U.S. Department of the Interior serves 1.9 million Native Americans and Alaskan Natives, many in sovereign lands in the western United States. That's a shadow of the population that historians say thrived on the continent before European colonization. Native Americans were only granted universal U.S. citizenship in 1924, with the passage of the Indian Citizenship Act.
So it's within our generation that Natives finally all had the right to vote. So that's still a big thing that we always tell people is, it was our parents and people in that generation that fought for the right to vote.
Today's Native residents have, as a group, the highest poverty rate in the country, and their youth lag behind other demographic groups educationally, with much higher dropout rates than their white peers, according to a study by a bipartisan research group. On Monday, Biden detailed his administration's efforts to improve the livelihoods of the nation's Native people and to give communities more say. And he stressed that honoring the past is the way forward.
Making the Carlisle Indian School a national monument, we make clear that what great nations do. We don't erase history, we acknowledge it, we learn from it, and we remember so we never repeat it again.
Interior Department Secretary Deb Haaland, the first Native American to serve as a cabinet secretary, praised Biden's work.
President Biden has been the best president for Indian country in my lifetime. This is a president and an administration that truly sees Indigenous people and has worked tirelessly to address the issues in Indian country that have long been underfunded or outright ignored.
President-elect Donald Trump has named North Dakota Governor Doug Burgum to next lead the Interior Department, which in addition to overseeing the Bureau of Indian Affairs also manages the country's vast land resources. Trump has indicated he wants to tie land policy to energy policy by also naming Burgum to serve as White House energy czar.
And we're going to do things with energy and with land, interior, that is going to be incredible.
As president, Trump angered indigenous activists by lifting a ban on an oil pipeline that cuts through sovereign native lands on its path from Canada to Texas. Biden revoked Trump's action on the first day of his term. Anita Powell, VOA News, Washington.